Hello and welcome to this Adobe InDesign tutorial. Today we're going to see what we can do with columns in a layout within Adobe InDesign. It's quite amusing, really, what you can do with that particular tool. So here you see I have a document open now. I can go ahead and create a new one. Just to show you this here, because you have the columns here within the new document window, and you can try for yourself what it does. You see, I can create as many columns as I want to, but let's say I'm going to go ahead and create 3 columns. Now, if I do that, this is what my document is going to look like. Now, it's not that you're actually creating a document with 3 columns, but you are rather creating a document with guides that tell you where your columns should appear. And the distinction is really important because it actually serves more as a canvas to work with your whole layout than creating a document with really 3 columns. Now, very seldom will you actually need to create a document with columns. Most of the time you'll just create a document with no columns or just 1 column like this one, and you will create columns within your block of text, which is actually, by the way, what you have to do here anyway, unless you would create a text block of this size and then another one stretching from top to bottom here and like this, and then communicating possibly or connecting all 3 of them using this particular tool, which is actually not the purpose of this tutorial, but here we go. So type there you go. So those 3 columns are connected, and they spread out throughout the whole page. Now, this is not really the way I would do things within Adobe InDesign. You can, but it's awkward. I prefer, unless you really are going to do a layout for a magazine or something, and everything has to respect that 3 column ratio, even though you're not going to have your columns present at all times, but you do want to place your elements according to the spread of those 3 columns. So unless you're going to do that, you're just going to work on a regular document and create blocks of text that will contain various columns. So let's see how that works. If I click on my type tool and I go ahead and create a block of this size, for instance, so it's more or less half the page. Now let's go ahead and put some text in there. So I'm going to my type menu, fill with placeholder text. Really godsend feature if you don't have text, but you already need to move forward with your project. Now we have text here. We have no columns or 1 column whatsoever. Now, the very easy way to put this text in various columns is just by going here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. There we go. You see, this symbol stands for number of columns, and right underneath is the gutter. So we're going to see actually what those little items do here. If I click on the arrow, there we go, boom, I have immediately 2 columns, and if I click once more, I have 3 columns. Now I can specify the gutter that I want. So the gutter is the space between 2 columns. So let's say that I want a gutter of 5 millimeters. And to make things look a little more obvious, I'm going to justify the text within, there we go, within the columns. So this is actually how you create content with various columns within InDesign. Now you could go ahead and add columns in your document. There's nothing wrong with that really. And there we go. And you see that. So I have my preview checkbox activated. So here I'm in margins and columns. So I went to layout to get a hold of that. And I'm adding 3 columns with the same gutter as that I fixed for my block of text here, and you see that they correspond to each other. So even if you want to create columns afterwards, it's possible, but I'm going to go ahead and deactivate that and go back to just 1, and you see it actually is the same. Now, one of the many things that I could do is start dealing with the text here within my block. Say, for instance, and obviously I'm just making that up, but I'm going to make a sentence out of that. Well, actually, I'm just going to leave it as such, and there we go. There. Let's say that this is the title of my article. Now I'm going to want to make this text obviously bigger. Let's say, yeah, something like this, for instance. Give it another color, whatever. There we go. So this looks more or less like a title. Now, what I would like to do is make this thing stretch over various columns. And before we used to have to select the title and put it in a separate block, pull this to the bottom, or downwards, and place our text here. This is no longer the case because there's a nice little feature within Adobe InDesign now, which is a paragraph setting. So I have to place myself within the paragraph. If you don't know how to deal with text yet, I strongly suggest that you go ahead and check out the tutorial about text. So I'm just going to go ahead here to paragraph, and here. Now you see I want to show you this little option here. So again, we found a number of columns and the gutter within the paragraph settings, but what really matters here is this, the span columns. Now the span columns option is really cool because you can span a paragraph throughout various columns. Now you can do that, for example, for 2 columns, and this is what happens then. I'm going to go into preview mode so it looks better. There you go. So I could want to do that, but in this case I want to span 3 columns. So I can go span 3 or span all columns. Now the really cool thing about this is that if I stay in my paragraph settings and I put space underneath, my title is going to move 3 columns, or both columns if in case it was just those 2, downwards, and I think that's really brilliant. So really that's how you need to, or how I would advise you to use the columns and this little nice feature, the span feature within Adobe InDesign now. Now, I'm going to show you the opposite. If I want to create just here text like so, just in one particular column, this is going to be my title. See, I could make I'm just going to copy paste this, it's going to be easier. There we go, and yeah, this is my title. You see it picks up the same paragraph settings, so I have a nice space here underneath. Now, say that this is, I want to split this into columns for whatever reasons, but just this here. Well, I can do that just by placing my cursor within my paragraph, and instead of spanning, I'm going to split, and this is what it gives me. Now, if I again put some space afterwards here, there we go, and if I select both, and I'm going to justify them horizontally, this is what it gives me. So you can see that I can span and I can split as well. Now I don't have that much control over the gutter, so that it makes it a little bit awkward, but to use. But I thought that was a nice little feature that you could use in order to split some text into columns just this way, because you don't have to create multiple blocks of text in order to achieve such an effect. So I thought that was pretty cool to show, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. Now, the number of columns and the things that you can do regarding to columns can be found as well if you right-click on your block of text and in text frame options. This is where they are. Number of columns, gutter, etc. Now, should you want to, and this option is not available here above, should you want to use a fixed column width, this is where you would do it. Now, how that works here in InDesign is that if you select any block of text that you've created and split it in columns, it will remain at the same size, and InDesign will split it in 3 and adapt the width of the columns according to the width of the block and the width of the gutter that you just introduced. So should you want to have a specific width for the columns, this is where you would do it. And you go to text frame options, and in fixed column width you just say what width you want your columns to be. So let's say I'm going to stretch it down to 50. There we go. So my columns are 50 millimeters large with 5 millimeters gutter. So this way I really control how much space my text is going to take in a very controlled fashion. That's one thing that you can do. And the other thing that you can do is balance columns. Now I'm just going to validate this here. I'm going to make this thing much bigger. And now the balanced columns is present here as well. So what it does is, I'm just going to go ahead and click on it. So I'm going to zoom first. So you see here number of columns, gutter, and here the balanced columns. If I click on this here, now you see that my block of text goes to here, but whenever this option is activated, it won't matter how big my or how high my block of text is. InDesign is going to automatically balance the content of my columns itself. Obviously here I would need some more text for it to come all the way down, so but you can see that it has a very even spread, whereas before, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this, it was not the case. So this is a very nice feature that has come with Adobe InDesign version number 5, and I think it's really nice, and I advise you to use it. It's much easier than just to fiddle around and yourself just go like this until InDesign does more or less what you want it to do. So I thought that was really nice, because when you start moving things around, like if you select, let's say I'm just going to go ahead and balance these immediately. I'm just going to go, yes, there they are. So I'm going to go ahead and balance them. Now I double click and I select all my paragraphs. So if I start to put spaces between my paragraphs, see more and more, but you see it keeps on balancing those columns, and that's and I don't have to worry about how big my my text frame has to be, and it just does it really well. So I think it's a nice feature, and I hope you will find it as useful as I do. Take care.